Welcome back to UK Homicide. The Christopher Foster family murder case is one of the most disturbing instances of family annihilation in modern British criminal history. The brutality of the murders, combined with financial collapse and psychological distress, makes this case particularly tragic. Let's take a detailed look at the background, events leading up to the murders, investigation, and psychological factors played a role in this terrible crime. Christopher Foster was born in 1959 and grew up in Shropshire, England. He owned a highly successful business in the specialist chemicals industry and amassed a significant fortune. He enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, which included a large country estate called Osbaston House, where he lived with his wife, Jill, and daughter, Kirsty. Jill, aged 48, was a schoolteacher, and Kirsty, 15, was in high school. The family appeared to be happy and well off to those who knew them. Foster was seen as a wealthy businessman, living a high life on a grand estate that gave off the air of success. This includes spending £50,000 on landscaping and over £200,000 on antiques. Not all of these were authentic, but it was pointed out that neither was he. However, Foster's life spiraled out of control, unbeknownst to everyone, including his family. Under this surface-level success, his financial troubles were more profound and severe than anyone could have imagined. The economic pressures stemming from his failing business ventures and investments were contributing to his complete psychological breakdown, leading to his catastrophic actions. Christopher Foster founded and operated Foster & Co. successfully for many years, allowing him to live a truly luxurious lifestyle, including horses, luxury cars, and holidays. This success, along with a background in business management, ensured this company was seen as highly reputable in the specialist chemicals sector. In the early 2000s, however, this began to turn, and Foster & Co. faced significant financial challenges, in no small part due to poor investments outside his expertise. By 2008, the business was on the brink of collapse, and he was scrambling to hide mounting debts estimated to be £3 million. To maintain his wealthy facade, he had been borrowing money, taking out personal loans, and selling assets, including parts of the family's estate. Still, this would never be enough to relieve the financial pressure. In addition to the estate, Foster sold luxury cars and art from his collection. But again, these sales were never going to be sufficient. One of the significant psychological factors behind Christopher Foster's actions was his obsession with maintaining appearances. Despite his mounting debt, he continued to live a life of luxury. He appeared to the outside world as a successful businessman. His need to maintain his status and the fear of losing everything, including his family's reputation, may have contributed to his decision to conceal his financial problems. Jill and Kirsty had no idea of the impending financial collapse. Foster had carefully shielded them, fearing the humiliation of revealing the truth. There is also evidence to suggest that he believed that killing his family would spare them from the shame of his financial ruin and humiliation associated with his business collapse. On the 14th August 2008, the Fosters went to a friend's barbecue and clay pigeon shoot. Chillingly, none of the guests noticed any red flags, and Foster was said to be in particularly good spirits. A photo of the family that afternoon shows all three smiling at the camera and looking relaxed. Later that evening, on 14th August 2008, he would put his carefully planned attack into action. He told Kirsty to go to bed around midnight. We know this because she had been texting a friend. Around 3 a.m., 50-year-old Foster shot his wife, Jill, and daughter, Kirsty, in the back of the head. As part of his rampage, he also killed the family dogs and horses. This act further illustrated the cold-blooded nature of his actions, showing no compassion for any living being, and no distinction between his family and their animals. After murdering his wife and daughter, he set fire to their house using accelerants to destroy evidence or ensure his creditors, the people who'd supposedly put him in this predicament, would get absolutely nothing out of him. He then lay next to his wife in bed. Although a shotgun would be found near him, his actual cause of death would be smoke inhalation.
A long-barreled weapon with a silencer on the end of it as well, which would have made it extremely difficult to put into your mouth. So I think he's succumbed to the smoke, which would have been in the room at the time.
This blaze would take 12 fire crews and several days to contain. Foster even blocked the driveway with a horse box, shooting out the tires to prevent first responders from quickly reaching the house. After a heartbreaking 7 days, firefighters would find a small amount of the remains of Jill, Kirsty, Foster, and their animals in the charred, collapsed remains of the house, stables, and kennels.
Forensic teams will today attempt to identify the second of two bodies found out in a burnt-out Shropshire mansion. Police have begun a murder investigation after naming the first body as that of Jill Foster, who went missing with her husband and daughter last Tuesday. She'd been shot in the head. Christopher Foster and his 15-year-old daughter Kirsty are still unaccounted for. Tom Parmenter reports from the scene.
The dissection of Osbaston House is now in its 7th day. As the days have passed, wild speculation has been overtaken by harrowing realities. The Foster family were last seen at a neighbour's barbecue a week ago. Hours later, their splendid country mansion was consumed by fire. So far, 2 bodies have been found.
One has been positively identified as that of Jill Foster. The other is believed to be a male, but formal identification is expected to take some time. Clearly, we will be seeking to establish whether it is the body of Christopher Foster. The post-mortem on Jill, who was identified by dental records, revealed that she was killed by a gunshot wound to the head. Further tests are needed to establish a cause of death for the other body.
Establishing if the second body is that of the millionaire Christopher Foster is now a priority. Officially, he and his 15-year-old daughter Kirsty are still unaccounted for. West Mercia police say they're keeping an open mind as to what happened here. 3 horses and 4 dogs were also shot dead. A .22 rifle was found near the bodies. Tests will tell police if it was the weapon used in this killing spree.
This shifted the focus of the investigation from an accidental fire and missing persons to a homicide investigation. It would be 6 days before Kirsty would be found.
6 days after the fire, police investigators discover a third body.
Experts found what they believe to be further human remains early yesterday evening. A Home Office pathologist attended the scene and confirmed the remains were human late last night.
She must have been in bed at the time of the fire, and the only reason for her to be still in bed, she must have been dead before the fire started. Otherwise, she would have tried to escape.
She was parallel with the back wall, with 2 flights up, and her bed position would have been against that same wall. Everything had dropped down through 2 bedrooms into this debris pile. Her remains were really fragile, extremely fragile, and we couldn't use metal tools to recover Kirsty. We were using brushes, gently brushing all the time, trying to expose more and more to the point where we could move her.
Forensics officer Dominic Black said he found his decision to kill Kirsty particularly evil. Quote, "I think that Chris Foster did was the most despicable thing I've ever had to deal with," says Black. As a father, he had been put on this planet to protect that girl. She was in her own home, in her own bedroom, with her own parents, the safest place in the world for anybody, and he takes her life. That fills me with horror. As the murder investigation intensified, police uncovered the true extent of Foster's financial collapse and deception, further reiterating the underlying motive for the murders. In addition to the financial stress at Foster & Co., which included selling assets and borrowing money, many attempts were made to cover this by continuing to spend on luxury items. A 2-day inquest started on the 2nd April, 2008. Those present were able to watch the chilling recovered CCTV. Kirsty Smallman, a crime reporter, said, "The footage was unbelievable. You couldn't believe what you were watching, and within the inquest it was absolutely silent. You could see what he was doing, and it was like something out of a movie. It was unbelievable." The CCTV even captured the horrific shooting of one of Kirsty's horses, and Foster setting fire to the stables and driving a horsebox to the bottom of the drive, blocking the emergency services.
very clearly this footage very powerfully depicts Mr. Foster's actions on that particular night, preparing to set fire to his premises. He's also walking around with that gun and silencer, and of course we know that his gun was used to kill Jill.
Many commented on how eerily calmly Foster had utterly destroyed everything in his life. The coroner, John Ellery, suggested that he may have left the CCTV running as a witness to his actions for those remaining, but we will never know for sure. He recorded that Foster unlawfully killed his wife and daughter before killing himself, and revealed that, perhaps mercifully, both Jill and Kirsty were asleep when they were shot.
Detectives investigating the arson and murders at Osbaston House, Maysbrook, in the early hours of August the 26th, believe that Jill and Kirsty Foster were killed by Christopher Foster.
A 2009 Daily Mail article reported that Foster kept guns all over the house. His targets included Jill's doves when they entered the garage, and droppings were left on his cars. He also shot Kirsty's pet Labrador when it worried sheep. Kirsty was understandably devastated by this cruel act, and his friends were shocked he hadn't considered rehoming it. They describe him as like Jekyll and Hyde, and very headstrong and impulsive, saying that Jill would steer clear of him in one of his moods. Foster's brother Andrew said,
I hadn't had a great deal of contact with him for 16 years. He was a bully. I would describe it as abuse. And that's why we didn't get on it, and that's what I want people to know.
Foster's mum, Enid, could never bring herself to criticize any of his actions, saying, "You always love your children, whatever they do. You can't cut off because they've done something horrible. I know what he did was horrible, but it just wasn't Chris." But someone else felt differently, posting an anonymous card to the gates of the house after the fire with the words, "Money is the root of all evil." The Foster family murder is one of the most tragic and shocking cases in UK criminal history. It shows how financial ruin, psychological distress, shame, and personality flaws can push someone to commit horrific violence against their loved ones. This episode is dedicated to Jill and Kirsty Foster and their dogs and horses, the innocent victims of a premeditated, calculated, and incomprehensible act of betrayal. Please take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.